This is football. I am Kevin Clark. Ian Rapoport joins a buzzy conversation. I know we have a really funny time. You're going to enjoy this, but also we talk a lot about a couple of stories that are intriguing, what the trade deadline is going to look like, Joe Flacco, but more importantly, when is Joe Burrow going to come back? Is that going to be a huge story in December? We kind of lay that out. Are the Dolphins going to make a move? Is there a Giants candidate we should be thinking about after they blew the game on Sunday? Throw that out there. Should you introduce yourself to GMs if you're drunk? That's a topic. It's all there, guys. It's all there. As a reminder, 5-star reviews help us help everybody. This is Football is presented by ESPN Bet Sportsbook. Download the app today. 21 plus. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Ian Rapoport is here. You know him from everywhere, frankly. From everywhere. But most notably, he's on the Insiders on NFL Network, which is, I've been begging for a podcast and I finally got it.
Congrats.
I was begging for years. I said, can you just make this a pod? And he said, I'm checking. And then one day, bang, it was a podcast. Now it's my favorite pod.
Yeah, it's because you asked for it. That's why we
I emailed Goodell.
Yeah.
I emailed Goodell.
What's up?
So what isn't up? Let's start here. You have a Sleepy Hollow shirt on. You and I golf together.
That's true.
You went viral. What's that?
I played great.
You played great. I don't want to do this. All I'll say is that your and I's drives looked very similar. And then from 100 yards and in, you took advantage of the opportunities you were given. I did not. That's all I'll say about that. I don't want to do that. I will tell this story, which is at the end at the pro shop, you were talking to a guy you did not know, and his name was James Milner, and he is one of the most notable soccer players of the last 20 years.
Yeah.
And then at the end, I said, hey, that was James Milner. And he goes, that guy was famous, and he maybe thought he was a fan of yours, and then you realized that he probably thought that you were a fan of his. Neither of you knew who the other was.
Right.
And I think everybody comes away from this looking a little bit cringe.
Yeah, I thought it was awesome. It was a great conversation about various golf locales. He was a nice guy, pretty short, just like me. So we sort of had that going. And I assume both of us had the same conversation where it's like, wait, he wasn't a fan? People know that guy from somewhere?
Yeah.
Huh. So, nice guy.
I bet someone did come up to him afterwards and was like, you were talking to Ian Rapoport. And I told you were talking to James Milner. Right. I will say one thing I won't let you do when you say that he is short. That is correct. He was a short gentleman. That is on the record. He's a little more built than you.
A lot more built than me.
A lot more built. I'm being nice. Yeah. But I just wanted to get that on record, is that when you were talking, nobody was like, these guys have the same body type.
Right. Just the same stature.
Just the same notability worldwide. Just the worldwide fame is what we're talking about. All right, let's get to the trade deadline in a couple weeks. So, I wish the trade deadline. I bet you do too. I wish the trade deadline was a big deal. I wish that when a guy was unsigned going into his trade deadline before he was about to be a free agent, that he was on the trade block and we were talking about it. And like Albert Breer put out there the other day, oh, well, you should call about someone like Jordan Addison who's unsigned, and everybody's killing him for it. Why? Because it just never happens. It never happens. Is anything going to happen at the trade deadline this year?
So I would say things do happen. We have had several trades. We had 3, I think, last week. No, we had 3 2 weeks ago. One of them I broke from the golf course, speaking of golf.
I was actually going to ask about that, but yes, go ahead.
All right, we can talk about it in a sec. Yeah. But there's a couple of things that make the trade deadline different in the NFL from other places. One, nobody wants to give up on the season. And even though trading a really good player doesn't give up on the season, it does sort of have that feel of like, all right, well, you're tanking. And to be clear, nobody tanks. Because if you tank and the team sucks, then it costs your owner money. And yes, it gives you a better draft pick, but a lot of times coaches on the staff want to win because their jobs are indefinite. Nobody tanks. But it does, trading your really good players, if you're a team that's bad, does have that feel, and nobody wants that in the locker room. So there are deals. There are trades to make. I think trades will happen. But I'm okay with the trade deadline being kind of where it is, which is like some things happen, but maybe there's not like a huge blockbuster, because the trade deadline is very stressful for me. And what happens is from basically the start of the season through the trade deadline, anyone could get traded at any moment. Like I knew the Bengals were going to trade for someone, and I didn't know who. And I went through a list of like 20 quarterbacks, and it ended up being Joe Flacco. But that was a very stressful thing because anyone in the world can break that trade. And so, like, I'm always relieved when the trade deadline's over because it relieves my stress a little bit.
Oh, I didn't think about that. Thank God the trade deadline is quiet because it's easier on you.
Yeah, that's the
Maybe that's why they do it. That's why they do it in the league.
Could be.
They're like, this would really stress out the insiders. So let's just make
David
Njoku the most famous guy who gets traded.
Every year there's a couple trades that happen like at midnight, and like last year I slept through the L'Jarius Sneed trade that I thought I was going to break, and I don't think anyone besides me remembers that, but like I'm still annoyed by it. I'm still frustrated about it. I had my ringer on, but it was a text and not a call. And the whole thing, I know, and the whole thing is ridiculous. So like, yes, very, very stressful.
I was going to ask you, so you broke that story from the golf course. You've broken a couple of stories from the golf course this season. And I believe that Golf Digest or Golf Magazine, whoever wrote it up, identified the club you play at, which is right near here, about 10 minutes north of me. And here's my question.
Okay.
Etiquette-wise, golf, you can't just, look at your phone the whole time. How do we approach the phone on the golf course? Because it's not, listen, Ian Rapoport, he's got a job where he's got to be glued to his phone, but we all do. We've all got texts from the wives, or none of us can really put it in our pockets. So what's the Ian Rapoport, I'm sneaking my phone, just taking a peek. What's the move there?
Okay, good question. Right, because like I'm not like, am I the only one in the world that needs to monitor their phone during the golf course? Like clearly not. So basically the way I do it, I used to do it where like in the offseason I put my phone in my bag. That's long gone.
No,
so
never
my phone,
again.
I put my phone in my pocket no matter what. I have my ringer on, knowing that if it's in my pocket, no one else is going to hear besides me, and I have vibrate on. And what I'll do is when I'm walking, because I almost always walk, I would say 99% of the time, I walk with either my phone in my hand, which happens a lot, or my hand in my pocket, and just kind of monitoring a buzz. For this one, so I'm not too disruptive, and I'm not like on my phone texting all the time, but if I am, I'm walking because I don't want to hold up the group in front of me, behind me, I mean. Mm-hmm. So this one, it's a par 3. I have hit a fully mediocre tee shot, and it ended up being kind of like on the fringe, but a little far. And I got the text on like, hey, Flacco's getting traded to the Bengals. I'm like, holy cow. Set up a tweet, didn't even have time to put a picture on the tweet. Yeah. That's how quick it was. And then hit send. And then like, once you do that, there's like all sorts of things that have to happen. I'm like, should I go find a picture and add that to the tweet? I want to get the trade compensation because they didn't have that. And I'm staying there kind of like fiddling with my phone. And at some point, the guy I'm playing with is kind of like, all right, like we got to go. And so I kind of hit like, we got to go. And I kind of hit, I'm like, listen, I'm sorry, Joe Flacco got traded to the Bengals. Yeah. He's like, oh, okay, whatever. Yeah. And then I eventually like hit a chip that's mediocre and just pick up. I'm like, I'm just going to take a bogey. It's really fine. The only time I ever do that, I go to the next tee box and the guy goes, oh, the guy from NFL Network just put it out. And I go, right, that's me. And he goes, huh, all right. And then we just played on.
That's beautiful.
Ridiculous.
That's beautiful. When does the phone go off for Ian Rapoport?
Never. I mean, never. I used to do it for planes, just never. Like, it's way too stressful to turn the phone off. Like, I would rather, I can always deal with whatever. So I'd rather get the messages. Like, let's say I'm, someplace where I literally cannot answer. I'll get a text and I'll text like Garofalo and Pelissero, be like, hey, just got this tip, check on this, and like we'll do it together. So like I'd rather get the text, send one additional text than like turn it off and be like, anyone in the world could be sending me anything and I have no idea. That's terrible.
No free ads, but the Apple Watch has changed my life in this regard because you can you get the text on your phone and then you don't have to bring the phone out of your pocket. It's great.
I missed a trade this summer. What was it? It was a Texans receiver trade, I think it was. Mechie, maybe. because I was in the pool and didn't have my Apple Watch and got out 20 minutes later. And I'm like, whoop, that sucks. That happens.
This is Betting is brought to you by ESPN Bet Sportsbook. Bet $10 to get $100 in bonus bets when you use code Clark. 21 plus. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Okay, so I'm not one to brag. I am one to brag. I am 3-0 in my NFL picks on Sundays. Okay. I've been picking parlays and totals and stuff like that going into the Monday games. So I haven't been picking against the spread, but I've not steered you wrong on an NFL spread since we started this segment. Okay. 2 games on Monday night. The one I'm circling is the Seahawks and the Texans. I love this Seahawks defense. I love it. I love Sam Darnold. I love everything about the way they're building things. And to be honest with you, I did not see very much of it coming. But I'm looking at this Seahawks team and I'm thinking NFC West contention, one of the best defensive leaps we've seen this year. It's starting to look a certain way in Seattle. And Mike McDonald, to me, I met with him a few times when he was Ravens DC. And when people talk about the brain drain in Baltimore and how they lost assistants, stuff like that, it starts there. It starts right there. And you're looking at it. Guys, look at the Ravens defense. Look at the Ravens defense and look at the Seahawks defense, and you start to sort of figure out what that move signified. All right. Sam Darnold, third in the NFL with 1,500 passing yards, despite the fact, this is via Next Gen Stats, that the Seahawks are passing on half of their plays, which is the lowest pass rate in the NFL. Jackson Smith and Jigba has a lot to do with that. So I'm looking at this team and I'm seeing what has the makings of a complete team. And you know who I don't think is particularly complete? The Houston Texans. Give me the Seahawks, 3.5 point favorites at home. All right. Biggest story that you think is not getting enough attention in the league right now?
I would say the best story that I'm sort of waiting on is when does Joe Burrow return and are the Bengals good enough for that to happen? And it's getting attention because each time they win, we'll talk about it. But I would say that's the most important and interesting one. The
What's
Dolphins,
the answer?
I think.
Well, I want to talk about the Dolphins, but what's the answer on Burrow? Like, is it realistic? Is this one of these like fake? We might come, but we might be back. We're just trying to keep the season alive kind of deals, or is this like December 10th? He might throw 4 touchdowns.
Yeah. So a couple years ago, when Aaron Rodgers had the torn Achilles, everybody was sort of like, which I still have my model back there, by the way. Hang on one sec.
Oh, here we go. This is it. This is why we come on. This is football. There it is. You got the Achilles. Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for bringing that.
I still have the Aaron Rodgers Achilles, which I used to show on air with the little brace here. That was kind of the procedure he had. He wanted to come back.
Yeah.
And I reported on it a lot. And even still, I was kind of like, there's a chance he doesn't. The Burrow thing is different. He really might. And I don't know that it's going to be December 10th. My guess is the last 2 or 3 games of the season, he has a chance. But if they're alive, then I think we really may see Burrow, which that's suddenly pretty realistic. And that would be the most dramatic of all things. And that would be very fun.
Do you think that's why Mike Tomlin was as mad as he was about the Joe Flacco thing? Is it without that, they would have had a walk-in touchdown for the division, essentially?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know they're going to have a walk-in touchdown anyway, because even with the Ravens record, would I be surprised if the Ravens won the division? I wouldn't. I really wouldn't, which I'm sure is crazy, but I really wouldn't be surprised. Mike Tomlin knows Joe Flacco's good. Yeah. The record against Joe Flacco is just okay. I think he was kind of mad at having to face him. And, on the other hand, if you're Andrew Berry and you're the Browns GM, and I don't want to speak for Andrew Berry at all, but the reality is, you do what's best for your team. That is his job. And he wanted the pick and dealt the salary and wanted, he did his job in a way that like it doesn't matter what the opponents think. That's not who he answers to.
I agree with that. And I always thought I remember like Billy Beane said this, like a lot of the rules about like where you trade a player or whatever, just get the best return you can. And also have confidence in yourself that your build is on track and all that stuff. And it's not going to be derailed by trading Joe Flacco inside the division. It's going to be fine, guys. It's going to be fine. A lot of unwritten rules, not worth anything.
Yeah. And we've seen general managers violate those. I mean, the Texans Jaguars did a trade, Christian Kirk trade, right, last year.
Yeah.
And it was like, can you believe they trade him in the division? And it's sort of like
Christian Kirk.
I somehow can. Yes.
They didn't trade CJ Stroud. All right. Hey, you mentioned the Dolphins.
Okay.
It seems like it's about that time for me. I don't know what to say. You reported earlier, no imminent changes. Stephen Ross likes Mike McDaniel. By the way, I like Mike McDaniel. I think that there's going to be, I think when this has run its course, I think he's going to be an amazing offensive coordinator. I think with a different team, with a different GM, with a different roster, he's going to come back in 5 years and he's going to be an awesome head coach. Don't know if that's going to be in Miami. What is happening there? I don't even know how to ask a better question. What is happening there?
Yeah, it's crazy. First of all, you're right. I was told no changes imminent. No changes forever, but no changes imminent. If this continues to happen, then I think the questions are going to come every week. And we've seen in recent history that if the questions keep getting asked and it's a story every week, at some point it happens. I don't believe Stephen Ross wants to fire Mike McDaniel, likes him, has supported him, has given him a contract extension. McDaniel's a great dude. Mm-hmm. This seems to be the last resort. At some point, if the results are what they are, you can't avoid it, but it seems to be a last resort. The problem with firing someone, and like the Titans are going to go through this now too, is it doesn't actually solve anything. Like it stops the issue. Like no one's going to be talking about Brian Callahan's job status anymore. He's now been fired. If that's the same for Mike McDaniel, like that will end the story, but then the season's over. It's a lost season, and it's like you're not saving anything, and you're already paying him. So if you can deal with it, you might as well just let it run its course. Unless he's like so disruptive that you got to get him out of there, and like McDaniel isn't.
It's a good take. It's a good take. And McDaniel is, again, awesome dude, awesome coach, awesome offensive mind. I hate what's happened. I think part of it's the roster. Part of it's just bad luck. Sometimes like they should have been good 2 years ago.
They remade the roster in like May and June, and who's available in May and June?
Yeah, you're right.
They traded for Darren Waller, who's played a couple games and is their starting tight end.
And now has a pectoral injury. So it's brutal. Rough. All right. You mentioned the Titans job being open. You mentioned that the Dolphins job may be open. There's a bunch of other jobs we're kind of at least on the lookout for. Yep. What I haven't heard, I found, and maybe someone like Mike McCarthy would be great in Nashville, but the job comes open and then we see the candidates list and it's the most obvious group of retreads you've ever seen. Matt Nagy and Arthur Smith and all that stuff. Give me some candidates. Whether or not, listen, and maybe that's it. Maybe that's the candidate pool this year. Is it just going to be Arthur Smith getting a second chance? But like, give me the hot board inside, to use a college term. It's like it's back. It's like you're back covering the SEC. We're doing a little hot board for Mississippi State. Give me the guys, hot coordinators, hot DCs, whether they're retreads or not, who are going to get a lot of attention in this cycle.
Okay. So first of all, I think it's very clear the hot candidate does not always work out. Brian Callahan was a hot candidate, hired so the Panthers wouldn't. Panthers settled on a guy named Dave Canales, who has turned around the Panthers, and they're over 500 for the first time since 2019 this late. So, like, hire good coaches, trust yourself, and try to find the right people. First of all, I think both those retreads you mentioned, Nagy and Arthur Smith, would be good hires. The other, the list of coordinators, it's not like it's that strong.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean anything. Like, I'll give you an example. Josh Grizzard is a young offensive coordinator for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, is calling plays for the first time, and most people have not heard of him, has done an awesome job. The last couple guys to come from there have done a very nice job as a head coach. Liam Cohen so far and Dave Canales. I wonder if someone looks at Josh Grizzard and goes, all right, like, he's learned from Todd Bowles, who clearly knows how to build culture. He's a good play caller. Maybe he's the next Canales. Like, that would make sense to me. Anthony Campanelli
Yeah.
with the Jaguars. If they continue to be good, he's a great dude. Talks like he's from The Sopranos. He's done a really nice job defensively. Um, I would say the defensive coordinator. Well, the Arizona Cardinals' record's bad. They got a good young defensive coordinator, but maybe a little too early there. I'm trying to think of other good ones.
Bro,
Here's
Anthony.
another one.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Jim Bob Cooter.
Mm.
He's not calling plays,
No.
but he's designing the offense with the Colts, which is the best offense we've seen the Colts have in a long time. Now, I think Lou Anarumo, the DC, will also get interviews and could get a job. But he asked for these young, like Jim Bob Cooter has been through it. He's been coached by a lot of good coaches. He has done a great job this year, and the Colts are good. That would be another one that would make sense to me.
All right, Anthony Campanelli. This is important.
Okay.
Because the Giants just lost on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
He's from Fair Lawn, New Jersey High School. Also went to Paramus Catholic High School. He was a defensive coordinator
in the Jersey Catholic hardcore.
When this ends, when I stop reading his resume, he's going to have the job. Okay. Defensive coordinator at Don Bosco Prep.
Yep.
Then offensive coordinator at Don Bosco Prep. Why not? Why don't we just flip on the other side of the ball and start calling plays? Defensive assistant at Rutgers. And then he starts into BC, Michigan, Dolphins, Packers, Jaguars. You said he talks like a conservatively a Jersey guy. Like that's the way we'll phrase it. You use the Sopranos. He has to be the next Giants coach. Only because I don't think the Jets is opening after 1 year. He just has to do it.
I hope not.
What? Oh, the Jets. Yeah. I don't think that's going to happen. That's just Jets fans. Their PTSD kicks in. And
all right. Let me give you one other small connection, and I don't think this means anything, but I'm just saying if you're trying to get Anthony Campanelli the Giants job, which is not open, by the way,
not open.
But in your world, you're talking about future candidates,
hypothetical
candidates. Do you know who the starting quarterback for Don Bosco Prep is right now?
I should know this. I should know this.
I'll give you a hint.
Wait.
It's a young sophomore gunslinger whose father happens to be the GM of the Giants.
I was actually going to guess Joe Schoen.
Carson Schoen.
I was going to guess Joe Schoen. My issue with that.
And by the way, Carson Schoen came off the bench after the team was down at halftime of the first game and led them to a dramatic win and then won a bunch. I think it was 4-0 to start. I don't know what they are now, but that's just another connection.
I need to tell you a Joe Schoen story, which is at the Miami Notre Dame game. I don't know Joe Schoen very well. I've met him less than 3 times. I don't go. I actually just don't go to Giants and Jets practices that often because they're right there, and I go to games and whatever.
It's funny.
I know. It's very funny. Yeah, it's very funny. But if I'm on the road, it's like the closest I'll be is Baltimore, Philly. Okay. So I saw a GM I know outside the parking lot. I've been drinking all day. Brandon Bean. It's fine. It's fine. We interviewed him for the show a couple weeks ago. Okay. So yeah, I saw Brandon Bean. I said hi. I've been drinking all day. Completely fine interaction. Wasn't whatever. Right behind him was Joe Schoen. They're friends. Mm-hmm. And I was like, at first I was like, I'll just go say hi to Joe Schoen. And I was like, you know what? Seems like a bad idea because I don't know. It's just like a bad first impression to be at a Miami game holding a Bud Light and wearing like a Miami, the whole get up before the game. So I just bailed on the entire interaction.
Are you wearing? Are you like?
No, I wouldn't have my face painted.
Like the bird or something.
I had the ibis. Thank you, the ibis. I had a Miami sweater vest on, or sorry, a golf vest, and then a orange polo, and then
seriously,
yeah. That's just 2 items of flair for Miami, but it's not important. What's important is all of these GMs were working, and I'm sitting there as Joe Sixpack. And I just completely bailed on meeting Joe Schoen because I was like, he doesn't need to see me like this. So he doesn't need to see that.
First of all, he does. Second of all, it's funny how. So I think about that a lot because one of my sort of like philosophies doing this job is that it's all out there, right? Like everything I report is public, and like we're all on Instagram, we're all on social media. So I sort of assume that whatever I do somehow, some way could be public.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of reasons to treat people nice, but like that's one of them. She's a good person, but like that's one of them. Like, so it could all be public. And so whenever I'm out let's say I'm out and I've had some drinks, or I'm out at a bar or restaurant, like I really do assume that there is a possibility that I could run into someone who has a camera, wants to come say hello and take a picture. That happens plenty. Or run into a GM or coach. And I'm always sort of prepared to have that conversation, knowing that like I might have had a few. So I would say this: you're at the stature in your life where you have a show on the internet and other places.
TV.
You got to be ready to have that conversation.
It's a good take. It's a good take. The next time I see Joe Schoen after 10 hours of drinking, I will say hello.
Yeah, be ready for it.
All right, we do this with everybody. We're going to get you out of here on these two. Number one, it's called badasses. The most badass person you've ever covered in your entire life, ever been around, could be a Patriot, could be a Mississippi State Bulldog, could be an Alabama Crimson Tide. It doesn't matter. The biggest badass Ian Rapoport has ever been around in football is whom?
Wow, that's a tough one. The biggest badass. God, I'm going through the ranks right now because I've covered a lot of teams, but I've covered a lot of not very good teams. With the Patriots, that's not true. I covered some. They went to the Super Bowl one year. I mean, this is not talk about like not great takes. This is not a great take.
Yeah, you have a lot of those.
Yeah, but this is actually not a great one. Tom Brady. Now,
wait, hold on. This is real. We've been doing this show for 3 years. We have never gotten Tom Brady. We've gotten Vince Wilfork like 5 times. We've got Dante Hightower. We got Dante Hightower and a bunch of other guys, but we've never gotten Tom Brady. We've never gotten Tom Brady.
Hightower as a freshman at Alabama.
Yeah.
I would say Tom Brady is the ultimate badass because, like, first of all, you know, he looks like a regular dude. He was like one of the
pump the brakes on that.
No, I mean not like his face. He's very handsome, but I'm just, body type wise. And in the locker room, he was like no one else because the craziest thing about Brady, first of all, I could go talk to him at his locker whenever, just go chit chat about whatever, and he was chill and relaxed. So that was always, for me, for a young beat writer, that was always appreciated. Like he was never like, hey, don't have time. Like if he was at his locker, you could always go chat with him. So Friday afternoons, I just go chat with him. That was great.
Yeah.
And then anytime a practice squad player who I've never heard of would leave the locker room, Brady would say goodbye, and he always knew their names. Mm-hmm. So I thought that was cool. The unbelievable seriousness with which he approached every little football thing was like no one I've ever seen before. So like he didn't have any superpowers, but he knew everything. Mm-hmm. And that was the coolest thing. And I could see it up close, how hard he worked on the smallest absolute things. Covering Brady for 3 years was like unbelievably cool. So yeah, I would say he's the biggest badass.
The details, and I'm sure you talk to guys about this, but the details with which he drilled into his receivers, like the story Brandon LaFell told me, they would go to Miami, and you remember before they had that roof there, it was just baking in the sun. It was the most miserable place on earth.
Awful.
And he would run the receivers out for warm-ups, and he would make them face the sun, and he would just pelt them with balls.
That's interesting.
And the reason he would do that was because you're going to lose, unless you get used to tracking the ball in the sun, you are going to lose one in Miami. That is just how it goes. It was a disgusting place to play football back then. Now it still is, but it's just on the visitor's bench. If you remember the Bills and a couple of years ago in their complaints, it is a lot better to track the ball there than it was 10 years ago. Anyway, that's the point. All right, last thing, one rep back. We have a player or a GM on. Player, we say you get to do a play back from your career. GM, it's a draft pick. We got a lot. Brandon Beane as a good example. Said Puka Nacua is the guy he wishes he could have back. We'd get him back on the draft board. He'd love having Puka Nacua on the team. We've gotten that a couple times actually. Puka is a miss for some teams. So with Ian Rapoport, it's either a story or a take that you wish you could redo in any way.
So I have 2 thoughts. One, when I reported that the Bills were close to an Antonio Brown trade, is sort of the one very publicly, and I've done many interviews on this, that you'd sort of think I wish I could have back because obviously he ended up not getting traded to the Bills. But that taught me so much about how to do my job, and it was so painful but so helpful. I became so much better going through that I don't wish I had that back. Like that was important for me.
Mhm.
The one that I wish had back, which still pisses me off, is my first year as the insider. No, it's not true. My second year as the insider. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers were about to hire Lovie Smith. And my oldest was our only child at that point, and I needed to go change his diaper. And so my wife says to me, like, hey, can you go change Max's diaper? And I'm like, cool, no problem. And I go upstairs, and I leave my phone on the couch, and I'm changing his diaper, which, like, you know how long it takes to change a diaper? It's like 2 minutes. Very, very quick. And she comes running up. She goes, you have 2 missed calls, same number. And I go cold. And I'm like, oh, my God. And I call the number, and the guy gets back to me, and he goes, the Bucs are hiring Lovey. And I'm like, what? Does anyone have it? And he goes, yeah, Glazer just put it out. And I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, you missed it. And that was the scoop. And I would have broken the Bucs hiring Lovie Smith, except I was changing my son's diaper. And I was so mad. I went downstairs, and I just screamed. My wife was mad at me because she was like, you were changing your son's diaper. If the worst thing that happens to you is you miss a story because you were changing a diaper, your life is going to be okay. And of course she was right and I was wrong as always. But like, I was so mad. And I was like, all right, here's what I'm never going to do. I'm never going to leave my phone. Make life easy. Because I could have said, hey, hold on a second, change the diaper, gotten the call, broken the story. But I didn't. And I would like to do that again. Because it's not like I learned a ton. I was just mad about it. So that one I'd like to have back.
That's amazing. Thank God your children are potty trained now.
Yeah. Took a couple of years. They're 10 and 12, but after a couple of years, they got it.
Ian Rapoport, The Insiders is on NFL Network. We're going to be coworkers in a couple of years. Thank you, buddy.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.